Hey guys, it's Dr. Garcia, and today is part 3 of the video series that we're doing, how to balance your hormones naturally. What's the best way to approach natural hormone balancing? And we're going to talk today about adrenal stress. So there's 4 main reasons why your hormone can get out of balance. There's blood sugar, there's stress, there's toxins, and then there's problems with your gut. And in the second video we talked about blood sugar, and today we're going to talk about the adrenal glands or stress. Okay, so one of the major reasons why your hormones could get out of balance is from imbalances in your stress hormones. Your stress hormones, or stress in general, is controlled by something that's called the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. Okay, and basically what that means is your adrenal glands make certain hormones that help your body, obviously deal with stress. They make cortisol and adrenaline and epinephrine and some other hormones that help the body go through the fight or flight, or to get through a stressful kind of survival instinct. And when you're in that survival instinct, your body's not focusing on reproduction, it's not focusing on digestion, it's not focusing on sleep and rest and recovery. So a lot of other functions of the body suffer when we're under stress. Okay, and so the way that the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis works is the hypothalamus is pretty cool. It's kind of like we call it a higher brain center, and it's able to determine if there's a stress or not. Okay, because what might be a stress for me might not be a stress for you, or what might be a stress for me one day, the next day might not be a stress. So, for instance, if I'm in my car and I'm in traffic, and but I don't have anywhere to be in a hurry. There's my favorite song's playing, and I'm not going to get too worked up if somebody cuts me off and if there's traffic and things just aren't going well. On the other hand, if I'm trying to pick up the kids and I have to be there before the school closes, and that's a completely different situation, I'm going to be much more worked up about it. So in the hypothalamus is the gland or the system that decides if we're going to respond to stress. Another example would be kind of the difference between like James Bond and, say, like Nervous Nelly. If James Bond is being attacked by 3 bad guys, he's not going to be stressed out. Oh, that's his environment. He thrives in that situation. Where a normal person, anybody else, that would be a very stressful situation. Okay, so the hypothalamus again determines if there's a stress or not, and then it starts this cascade through the pituitary gland, stimulating the adrenals to respond appropriately. And so if this happens, if this chronic stress happens for too long, there's 2 patterns that our bodies will represent. So the first pattern is from chronic stress, the adrenal glands make cortisol, and if they're continuously under stress, cortisol levels will tend to elevate. Okay, and that's the first pattern where you'll have high cortisol and low DHEA, and DHEA is the important chemical, because that hormone is actually what makes our sex hormones, estrogen and testosterone and progesterone. Okay. So that's one pattern. The second pattern is where your cortisol levels, the first pattern, they'll go through the elevation, but then they'll become depleted, and you'll have low cortisol and low DHEA. And so those are 2 different patterns that we have to treat differently. And in my opinion, I think my favorite way to determine or to diagnose which pattern you're in is with what we call a salivary stress hormone index. And basically what that is, it's a lab test, not from the blood, but it's actually a salivary test. And there's some very specific reasons why saliva is a much better indicator on your hormone levels than a blood test. But basically, we'll determine which pattern you're in, and if you have high cortisol, low DHEA, or if you have low cortisol DHEA, then that has to be addressed in order to balance your hormones. And the reason why we want to figure out your levels of cortisol and DHEA is because when, especially this gets important as we age, as we get through, when women go through menopause and when men start to get close to being 50 years of age. Because what happens is in women, when you go through menopause, literally your ovaries are going through retirement. They're doing less. They're making less hormones. So 100% of your sex hormone production is dependent on healthy adrenal glands. Okay, a lot of women that we treat, they think it's normal that as you age that you get this big decline in their sex hormones. So in that case, it's normal for them to go on hormone replacement therapy. They just think that's the normal progression. You know, you get older, your hormones drop, and then you go on hormone replacement, and that's just the way things are. But that's not the case. Okay, our bodies are pretty cool. We have backup mechanisms for just about everything. And as your ovaries go into retirement, your adrenal glands, if they're healthy, they pick up the slack. Okay, they are able to make plenty of DHEA, which again, 100% of women after the age of 50, 100% of sex hormones are derived directly from DHEA, which is produced from your adrenal glands. Okay, in men, it's about 50% after 50 of testosterone is produced by the adrenal glands. So there is a slight, normal decline in hormone production as we age, but again, it's very slight. And if you have healthy adrenal glands, your adrenal glands pick up the slack, and you should be able to go through menopause without any major symptoms. And you shouldn't go, if you're a man, you shouldn't go through male menopause or menopause. Okay. So I want to talk also about different types of stress, like, what actually are stressors to our bodies. And I think most people are aware of the emotional stressors. If you lose someone that you love, if you lose a job, if you lose your income, or so it's a lot around loss, and those are definitely stressful situations. But what most people don't think about are there other stressors, internal stressors of our bodies. Some of the ones that I think are important to understand that we see quite a bit are, for instance, if you have a chronic infection. If you have dysbiosis or a chronic virus or a parasite infection, we'll say, that's a very stressful condition for the body, and the body responds the same to stress no matter what type of stress it is. So, it's just like, if you're in a fight or flight, fight for your life, your body's going to respond the same way over a period of time as if you have, like a chronic infection. Another example that we see quite a bit that's overlooked are food allergies. Very, very common, and this was, something that I struggled with for a long time. I had a specific food allergy, to wheat, and that over time, really depleted my adrenal glands, and so I can tell you firsthand that these food allergies are very important to get a handle on. Okay, there's other examples of stress too, but so now let's talk about what's the best way to approach if you have suboptimal adrenal function. Okay, and there's a couple of steps that you want to do. The first step is obviously you want to try to identify the cause of the stress, the main stress or the main trigger, and eliminate that. Okay, so you want to either reduce your stress or you want to build up your body's resistance or tolerance to stress, because we all handle stress when we're healthier, when we're more rested. Okay, so specifically things that you can do to improve your stress tolerance is, number one is sleep. Okay, getting 8 hours of sleep is critical. The studies clearly show that if you're lacking sleep, just one night of suboptimal sleep will increase your cortisol levels pretty significantly. Okay, a second a habit or a second step that you can take that I think is something that's very important, very easy to do, is to decrease stimulants. Okay, so stimulants would be like sugar, like caffeine, like nicotine, and like alcohols. Those are, they're stimulants, and they stimulate your adrenal glands. So I think a lot of times we crave them because, if our adrenal glands are sluggish and we might, we wake up in the morning and we just don't have that pep in our step, we're going to look for something to get us going. We're going to look for a cup of coffee or, something sweet to increase our blood sugar. So we have that adrenal boost. Okay, but if you do that constantly or repetitively, what will happen is that will further tax your adrenal glands. The example a lot of times that we use, it's like whipping a tired horse. If a horse is not running as fast as it should, if it's starting to get tired, you can whip it. You can give it a little kick in the butt, and it'll run a little bit faster, and it'll run a little bit further. And it's the same example of what stimulants do to us. We can go a little bit faster, we can go a little bit further, but if you keep whipping a horse over and over again, what's going to happen? It's going to either buck you off, or it's just going to get exhausted and just drop dead. And that's the same thing with our bodies. If our adrenal glands get depleted, then we're much less apt to be able to handle stress and to be able to balance hormones and be able to enjoy life the way that we should. Okay, so it's critical to get that adrenal stress under control. Another example of something that you can do in order to improve your adrenal function is to control your blood sugar, to make sure that you don't get dips in blood sugar. One example is if your blood sugar drops, your adrenal glands make cortisol, which is a glucocorticoid, which is designed to bring your blood sugar back up to a normal level. So, if your adrenal glands are depleted, or if you're constantly skipping meals and you're getting that low blood sugar, that's a huge stress on your adrenal glands. Okay, so getting your blood sugar under control. There are certain vitamins and certain minerals and certain herbs that are very good for helping the adrenal glands heal. The B vitamins and vitamin C are really important for adrenal hormone production. There's what are called adaptogenic herbs, which are like rhodiola or ginseng or cordyceps, which are very nice herbs that help the adrenal glands adapt. Whether cortisol is high, adaptogens help to bring that cortisol down, or if your cortisol levels are low, it helps to naturally bring those levels up. Okay, so it kind of helps to balance whatever stage of adrenal depletion you're at. Adaptogens help out with that. Another thing that we like to use a lot are what's called glandular therapy. So it's actually desiccated adrenal tissue, and this has been or glandular therapy, which has been used for centuries, really. In the past, our ancestors used to eat the organs of the animals for health properties. And so I think that is something that is I use it a lot in the office, and we see really good results with that. Okay, and then I think the final step, and perhaps the most important step, is to do some kind of daily recharging, or kind of like a mind-body relaxation, whether it's prayer or whether it's meditation, or whether whatever else it is that you can do to decompress and to kind of find your center, to recharge your batteries, is going to be really vital in repairing your adrenal glands. And unfortunately, in our culture today, it's not something that is valued. Unfortunately, it's almost the opposite. It's like a badge of honor. The more stress we have, the less sleep we get, and the more busy we are, we kind of wear that as a badge of honor. And I think that that's a conversation that needs to change. All right, so that's the best ways to improve your adrenal function, with the specific purpose of trying to balance out your hormones in a natural way. I'm Dr. Paul Garcia, and I hope you found this informational and helpful. Please leave any comments or any questions below, and we'll talk to you next time.